This problem says, how many ways can we arrange the letters in Roblox? So I have Roblox written down here, and first thing I'm going to consider actually is it a permutation problem or a combination problem before considering what n and r are going to be. Well, let's think. If I write the letters like O, B, X, R, L, O, well, clearly that's a combination of letters that is different from that one. In other words, the position of the letters matters. So therefore, there is an order in these problems, or in these letters. So therefore, when order matters, you choose permutations, not combination. So therefore, this is a permutation type of problem. Now let's talk about how you actually calculate the answer. So I have P, and then what are my N and R values? Well, there are 6 different letters that we're choosing from. There are 6 objects. So that's just 6 here. And then how many positions are we placing them into? Well, if 6 letters go in, 6 letters must come out, because we're just scrambling these. So actually, there's 6 positions as well. So this is 6 permute 6. Let's find out what that ends up being. That'll be 6 factorial divided by 6 minus 6 factorial. And 6 minus 6 is 0. So this is 0 factorial. What in the world is 0 factorial? Well, this is just one thing that you need to know for any problems you might encounter. 0 factorial is just 1. So in other words, this is 6 factorial divided by 1, because 0 factorial is just 1. So in other words, whenever you're permuting a number of objects into the same number of positions, the answer is just that number factorial. Now, we're almost done. Normally this would be the case, but there's one thing you need to watch out for. Notice how we have repeat letters. So notice if I had R, B, L, X, and then if I flip these 2 positions, I'd also have O, R, B, L, X. Well, wait a minute, I just flipped these letters, so that should be a different combination, but they look identical. These are the same thing, because these are the same letter. So there's repeats in our problem. There's repeat letters. How do you account for that? The solution is very simple. What you do is you divide by the number of repeats, or you take each repeated unit, O, and there's 2 repeats. So you do 2 factorial. If there were 3 O's in Roblox, for example, I would do 3 factorial in the denominator instead, just as another example. But here, we only have 2 O's. So you take your repeated units, and then how many times it appears, do that much factorial as another factor to divide by. So this is our actual answer. And then now let's compute this. I'm just going to move down here. We have 6 factorial divided by 2 factorial. Well, 6 factorial is equal to 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 factorial, because 2 times 1 is 2 factorial, so that cancels out. And all we're left with is 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 for our answer. So this is just simply computing it. If you put that into a calculator or do it by hand, that's 360. So in other words, the number of ways that you can arrange the letters in Roblox is 360 ways.